home to Weiler's.
A tribute to Vienna. Enjoy her culture, her music at Sommerfest 81. Co-sponsored by WCCO Television and the Minnesota Orchestra, with the next concert Wednesday night at 7 at Orchestra Hall. Wunderbar.
WCCO Television, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
From WCCO Television, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Northwest's leading news station, this is the Noon Report.
Good afternoon. We welcome you to this first edition of the Noon Report for Monday, August 3rd. The nation's air traffic controllers made good on their threat to strike. In the next few minutes, we'll tell you what problems that has caused at Twin Cities International Airport.
And we'll also have an update on the strike by 16,000 Minnesota employees, a strike which enters its third week today.
And Dan Carlson is here, substituting for our regular weatherman, Bud Kraehling. What's in the forecast?
People have been asking me how much longer is this hot and sticky weather going to last with the thunderstorms all night long? Well, unfortunately, maps indicate through Friday. Deb?
Some more sticky vinyl seats in my car.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. For those of you who are accustomed to tuning in midday at noon each day, we would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the first edition of Channel 4's newest noon show, The Noon Report. Bill Carlson and I will be here each weekday at 12 o'clock, bringing you the latest in local, national, and world news. We will have the weather, and we will have special reports brought to you by specialists in such areas as health, travel, literature, and the law. In the news this day, White House News Secretary James Brady has had a major seizure in his Washington hospital room today. Spokesman Larry Speake says the seizure was treated with intravenous medication and anesthesia. Brady, you'll recall, was shot in the head during the March 30th assassination attempt on President Reagan. The White House says that Brady's vital signs are normal now, and he is sleeping. This is it. We're on strike. With those words from a union official, the nation's professional air traffic controllers walked off the job this morning at 6 a.m. Twin Cities time. The strike is expected to ground the country's commercial flights. But even before it began, U.S. Air announced cancellation of all of its Monday flights. 15,000 members of PATCO voted to walk off their jobs after negotiations broke down last night. Some 150 air control supervisors are expected to fill in for those striking workers, and 170 military air controllers are also subbing for the strikers. About mid-morning, a federal judge in New York ordered the air traffic controllers to stop their strike temporarily. Union leaders are to appear in court tomorrow to explain why the workers should not return to their jobs permanently. At a news conference this morning, President Reagan announced that the air traffic controller strike is in violation of a pledge that each worker takes.
I am not participating in any strike against the government of the United States or any agency thereof, and I will not so participate while an employee of the government of the United States or any agency thereof. It is for this reason that I must tell those who fail to report for duty this morning they are in violation of the law, and if they do not report for work within 48 hours, they have forfeited their jobs and will be terminated.
And Transportation Secretary Drew Lewis told of other get tough measures.
There has been a court action to impound the strike fund to $3.5 million. We are going before the National Labor Relations Authority this morning and ask for decertification of the union.
Our Tom Hendrick is standing by at Twin Cities International Airport to tell us how the strike is affecting travel in and out of the metro area. Tom?
Debbie, 60% of the air traffic controllers at the Farmington Control Center didn't show up for work this morning. Here at the Twin Cities, most of those who did show up for work, as you can see, were carrying picket signs. Normally, there are 12 people in the control tower here, and now there are 6 people. 4 of those are supervisors, and 2 of them are non-union personnel. The rule of thumb is this: the further you have to go on your trip, the longer the destination, the better the chance you have of getting your flight and getting there without much of a delay or hassle. Most flights within 500 miles of the Twin Cities are being canceled. The Reagan administration has requested all airlines to cut the number of flights by about 50%. There's still service to most cities, just the number of flights to those cities is being cut. Now, inside, there are a lot of people waiting, but they don't seem to be too worried about safety. Larger crowds are expected this afternoon, because that's when most cancellations are going to occur. Again, most cancellations are expected to occur this afternoon. Apparently, we were going to have an interview with some airline people, but we didn't get that, Debbie. But again, to recap, the big crowds are expected this afternoon, and that's when all the cancellations are going to happen. There are going to be some tense people waiting around then.
And you'll have an update on that tonight for us at 5.
We will.
Thank you, Tom. Around the country, Amtrak and bus stations are reporting heavy business today as the travelers scurry around looking for alternatives to air flights. Harv Goldberg spent this morning checking on alternatives for local travelers. He is in our St. Paul Bureau with a report. Harv?
Well, Debbie, the message we have received is that with a little ingenuity and a lot of patience, the average air traveler can find his way around. Commercial flights are still flying out of the Twin Cities International Airport, as Tom reported, but basically you pay your money and you take your chances. Some people have turned to Amtrak, especially those going to Chicago. However, many of the trains were booked up long before today. There are few seats available, and Amtrak doesn't hold out much hope of getting any extra cars. Greyhound says its reservation phones are busier than usual as people look for alternate methods of transportation. And some people, especially those going short distances, are simply forgetting about public transportation and driving to their destination. With the decisions being made in Washington, the average air traveler must fend for themselves and find their way as best they can. Harv Goldberg reporting from our St. Paul Bureau. Back to you, Bill and Debbie.
Okay, Harv, another strike continues in the news in Minnesota as state employees enter the 3rd week of their job action. No talks scheduled today, but state mediator Kenneth Boxell says negotiations will resume early tomorrow. Last week, talks broke off after each side rejected the other's proposals. Some 14,000 state workers are on strike over wages and health insurance, the largest public employee strike in Minnesota history.
And strikes in the news worldwide. A showdown appears to be brewing in Poland as workers continue to threaten strikes over that nation's food crisis. Those strikes have prompted, or rather those threats have prompted government charges that the Solidarity Trade Union has reneged on its promises to avoid strikes. Today, in a massive show of union support, first buses and then taxis took to the streets of Warsaw, attempting to pass in front of the Communist Party headquarters. The vehicles bore signs calling for changes in Poland's food policies. Severe food shortages and new restrictions on meat rationing prompted that action.
And homemakers, here's a note for you. A strike could be the best strategy for you, too. At least that's what Diane Bonema found. The Spicer, Minnesota woman says she'd asked her 3 teenagers for help around the house. And as often happens, the teens didn't respond. So Mrs. Bonema set up a picket line outside her home last Friday morning. Ignoring the pleas of her husband and children to put down her signs and come inside, she stayed put until Saturday morning when a tentative settlement was reached. According to the homemaker, her children are now taking out the garbage, washing the dishes, and in her words, if there's a union, it should be for mothers, too. Now, we'll be back with more of the Noon Report in just a moment when we'll talk to a man whose face may be familiar, but the breadth of his talents may surprise you. And we'll check on the progress of President Reagan's tax cut.
If you hate to shave like I hate to shave, get to know the new Persona Shower Shaver. It's got every feature it takes to take the hating out of shaving. For fabulous control, a non-slip handle that's curved like your finger. Hard to shave places are now easy. A twin-blade pivoting head follows contours you can't even see. No more missed spots. And a push-button cleaner for lots of fast, smooth shaves. New disposable Persona Shower Shaver. It's got every feature it takes to take the hating out of shaving.
Remodeling your kitchen is a money-saving idea from Plywood, Minnesota. A 5-foot starter kitchen is only $199 right now. Plus, Plywood, Minnesota gives you a full 15% off on any additional cabinets you buy. Or choose a different style and get $100 off for every $1,000 of cabinets you buy. Extra savings, too, on wallpaper, carpet, and ceiling panels. Selection, quality, value, and service you can count on. That's Plywood, Minnesota.
President Reagan's tax cut program comes up for a final vote in the Senate, but Massachusetts Democrat Ted Kennedy plans to continue his efforts to send the bill back to a joint conference committee. The senator contends that the Reagan package provides unfair tax breaks for the oil industry, but observers say that Kennedy's proposal has very little chance of success. The tax cut bill is expected to be ready for the president's signature later this week. Former Minnesota Senator Eugene McCarthy hopes that there's a place for him in Washington. McCarthy says he's giving serious consideration to running for his old seat. That seat is now held by Republican Dave Durenberger. McCarthy says he should know by November whether he has enough support to campaign. Viewers of Hogan's Heroes may recognize our guest today on the Noon Report.
They certainly should, but of course Werner Klemperer is in the Twin Cities for an entirely different kind of show. You're going to be the host of a special Viennese coffee concert and then another concert, I think on Friday night with the Minnesota Orchestra, right?
Yes, Friday night and Thursday afternoon at 11 o'clock, 11 in the morning, 11 o'clock.
Though it may be new to our perception of the Werner Klemperer, Colonel Klink character, it's certainly, this musical surrounding is not new to you and to your whole lifestyle, is it?
Well, I come from a musical family.
Indeed.
My father was a conductor. And the last few years, my career has not switched, but certainly had some changes. I'm doing a lot of work with symphony orchestras all over the country.
And in opera, I understand, coming up soon.
I was at the Metropolitan Opera last season in a production of Mozart's Abduction from the Seraglio, and I'm going to be in Seattle with the Seattle Opera Company doing Orlovsky and the Fledermaus. Yes.
Isn't this a wonderful surrounding that they've created at the Minnesota Orchestra at Orchestra Hall?
I think it's unbelievable. I just came from the market, is what it's called, the Marktplatz. Right. And they had this wonderful sausages. I can't wait when I get out of here. I'm going there right now.
It's kind of a picnic surrounding.
It's
but
really exciting, yes.
It is to add to the festive surrounding and the appropriateness of certainly being this Vienna kind of setting.
I think the Minnesota Orchestra is doing something very important. They're bringing music to the people, and that's an important thing.
Mm-hmm. It'll be 11 o'clock when the coffee concert, I know, takes place on Thursday.
Yes, and Friday night it'll be in the hall at 8 o'clock, I think, or 8:30, I'm not quite sure. But they're sold out.
They're sold out.
Isn't that
However,
wonderful?
I understand it is wonderful, but to those who may be downtown at noon, or around noon that day, they are going to feed the sound out into the Marktplatz, too.
Terrific.
So you can
have a sausage and enjoy the Vienna woods.
Werner, I'm curious, is there any kind of music that you like to direct more than other music?
I don't really direct. I do no, do you mean do I have feelings about music? Listen, I love music. I think the only thing that I'm not really close to is country western. I don't quite have a feeling for that, but I'm a great rock fan and I love jazz, particularly jazz. I think that's very important. Don't you get some pretty big jazz artists come to Minneapolis here?
We do, a great many of them. We have a wonderful surrounding music in this area. Incidentally, you will be a kind of giving notes to make...
I will be a narrator, kind of a bridge between the different numbers and telling people about what the times were like in Vienna during the time when Johann Strauss and his sons lived and worked. And there's a lot of information that people have no idea about. Even I, when the narration was put together, they think that I never heard about it. It's really fascinating.
It is indeed, and of course we have tried to recreate the stage setting and everything else in the Minnesota.
You know, we don't have enough waltzing these days. We need to waltz around a little more and relax.
Maybe he'll give us a demonstration.
On that note, let's thank Werner Klemperer for being with us. Thursday and Friday he'll be with the Minnesota Orchestra. And as we mentioned earlier, Bud Kraehling will usually be joining us on the Noon Report, telling us about the day's weather. But for the next 2 weeks, Bud will be completing his annual vacation near Ely, Minnesota. Since he can't be here in person, Bud sent us this taped message.
Well, this is the northernmost of our WeatherNet cities. Burnside Lake, Superior National Forest, near the Boundary Water Canoe area. And it's been the Kraehling retreat for about 30 years now. Good place to watch the weather develop. Sometimes you get a few thunderstorms come in from the west over here. Northerly wind out of the north arm of the lake, cool you off on a warm day. Afternoon temperatures have been about 75 degrees, water temperature holding about 70. While the sun is on the dock here now, out in front of our cabin, in a couple of weeks it'll be behind the trees over here and it'll be cooling off, a little too cool for blueberry picking. They'll be gone by that time anyway, the berries. Well, a little too cool for taking a dip in the water, and about that time I'll be heading back to the Twin Cities to join Debbie Ely and the crew for the Noon Report. That'll be on Monday, August 17th.
Okay, Bud, relax. He's very good at that. We'll be back in just a moment with Dan's forecast. Don't go away.
And we'll have a report from our travel specialist.
Here
Here's good inflation-fighting news from Hoyt Construction. If you act now, you can get the finest dent-proof, rust-proof vinyl siding for your home at last year's prices. And vinyl siding never fades. It's solid color all the way through. Energy-saving, too. Hoyt puts a half-inch of insulation behind the siding, and that means a money-saving tax credit. Get lower prices, higher quality, and the best warranty available. Side your home with vinyl from the siding professionals at Hoyt. Call 884-4338 today.
I did it especially for you. A lot of women have been smoking for a long time. That's why lung cancer is no longer just a man's disease. Today, lung cancer is an equal opportunity tragedy. We'd like to help you stop smoking. Write Women in Smoking, Rockville, Maryland.
Debbie Reynolds is getting close on the next John Davidson show as she reveals the heartbreak of stardom.
I don't enjoy being single. I just don't enjoy being unhappily married.
And Alan Arkin tells how tough it was to make it.
I couldn't get any work. I just couldn't get arrested. I could have gotten arrested, but I couldn't get any work.
Plus, sportscaster Joe Garagiola talks about his comical baseball career. You might not be aware of that. On the next John Davidson show.
Our bud Kraehling is really sly. He planned his vacation for one of the hot, humid weeks of summer, but Dan Carlson is here with a forecast. Dan?
It's going to be humid up there as well, Debbie. Right now in the Twin Cities, we have a temperature of 78 degrees Fahrenheit under mostly sunny skies. The dew point temperature, which is a comfort index, is 71. It's exceedingly muggy out there with a humidity at 79%. Winds are from the southeast at 10, the pressure 2981 and falling. Around the 5-state area, these are our current temperatures of some warming down to the southwest of us where skies have cleared off a little bit. It's very cool up in the north, though, for this time of year. In the 60s up there, they're experiencing some thunderstorms in the vicinity of Duluth. Last night, coolness was around out to the west. That was only in the 40-degree area out here. Large 50-degree area back behind a cold front that's going to be sliding in, triggering off showers and thunderstorms in the Twin Cities later on tonight, perhaps. 60s over us, 70s down to the south, and down to the southwest, there were a few pockets of 80-degree temperatures as well. On the satellite picture, this is what's left of those thunderstorms that moved through the northern and southern suburbs of the Twin Cities earlier this morning, brushing Anoka County down through Dakota County. The heaviest activity was to the north, from roughly the Grand Forks area down through the Brainerd and into the St. Cloud area. As you can see, some clearing taking place back in here with a low pressure center that's going to be slowly sliding across Minnesota today. Also scattered showers and thunderstorms associated with these areas of cloudiness through the Ohio Valley on up through the northeast. We have a cold front on the map, on national map. It shows it's going to be down through the extreme southeastern part of the United States, and yet another one back from this low pressure center. That's going to be fairly dry. We're watching this warm front, though, that could possibly trigger some shower and thunderstorm activity for us later this afternoon. There is a slight chance that some of those could become severe today. The severe risk area is only slight, though, from Montana down through the lower Great Lakes region. Just a slight possibility. We're certainly not forecasting severe weather, though it is a possibility in this shaded area right in here. On radar, we are indicating right now the remnants of those thunderstorms. We were watching a whole big wall of water out here, but as it approached the Twin Cities, the central portion of it broke down a little bit, so the central part of the cities didn't get wet. It skirted to the north and to the south of us. We're going to be watching this area back in here as that low approaches for possible further regeneration of thunderstorms later on this afternoon. Our forecast for the Twin Cities is for variable cloudiness and humid with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Our high will be 85 degrees today. Our low 68. Winds will be from the southeast at 5 to 15 miles per hour. For tomorrow, in fact, well, it looks like it's going to be exactly the same thing. Variable cloudiness, it will be humid, chance of showers and thunderstorms, high near 84 degrees. And how long will it all last? Well, variable cloudiness with showers and thunderstorms through Friday, Bill. Highs will be from 80 to 85, lows from 55 to 65 with the muggy and humid conditions. Maybe people will want to do some traveling. Bill?
I don't want to hear any more about it, Dan, right now. If you have tried to reserve a seat for a vacation trip to do some traveling, even on a day when an air controller strike isn't in the offing, you may have learned the hard way that ticket prices for flights can vary dramatically. In fact, on one coast-to-coast flight, there are 26 possible fare plans. Bill O'Neill is our noon report travel specialist, and he filed this explanation of the wildly competitive effects of deregulation.
The Airline Deregulation Act of 1978 allows the airlines to fly where they want, when they want, at what fare they want. The idea was to let the marketplace dictate the airline operations. Let's look at one market, Minneapolis to Denver. In 1977, Western Airlines had 3 flights, or 390 seats a day, to Denver. Today there are 4 airlines, Western, Continental, United, and Republic, with about 2,000 seats a day with 14 flights. That's 730,000 seats a year to Denver. That's enough seats for every man, woman, and child in the 6-county metro area to fly to Denver during the next year. Now let's look at fares. Each airline sets its own fare, but Western is typical, and this is what it costs for a one-way between the Twin Cities and Denver. Now the seat I'm sitting in costs $209. It's first class, and it fits me best, obviously. This seat costs $161. It's a regular coach seat, the kind most businessmen use. This seat costs $161, and I'm back in first class because it's a night flight and you can go first class at the day coach rate. This seat costs $129 and is the night coach rate. This seat costs $121. It's a coach seat, but I have to leave on a weekend and can't return before the following Sunday. This seat costs $106.05. It's coach, and it's only for foreigners visiting the United States. Most of us don't qualify for this one. And last, the cheapest seat costs $96.50. You have to leave and return on a weekday, but you must stay over a Saturday. Now, with all these seats and fares and flights, I'm beginning to think there's something going on in Denver that the airlines aren't telling us about. This is Bill O'Neill for WCCO Television News.
And Bill will join us again soon on the Noon Report with information about travel. In addition, we will have other specialists in the areas of literature, health, family, and the law. They will be bringing us the latest developments in their field, and we'll be interviewing the people who make the news as a regular part of the Noon Report. We will also be hearing from Channel 4's viewers as our General Manager, Ron Handberg, responds to the letters you've sent us. The Noon Report is a forum to provide you with more in-depth information on the people and the events who make the news. We welcome your suggestions and subjects that you'd like to see covered on the Noon Report. Coming up on the Noon Report, 2 more deaths in Northern Ireland set off another night of violence.
Summer, summer fruits, it wouldn't be summer without 'em.
Summer peaches have never been peachier than they are right now.
Fresh from the tree, taste 'em and see. Nectarines, plums, and peaches, fruits from California.
You know a good thing when you see it. Summer fruits, juicy, light, and refreshing.
Nature's way of smiling, sunshine on a tree, delicious naturally, summer fruit.
Have a real peachy summer.
On the next PM magazine, we'll follow the awesome journey of 2 St. Paul canoeists as they take on the big one in their challenge to break the world speed record paddling down the Mississippi River.
And it wasn't the sky that was falling, but the ground sinking that shocked a community in Florida. We'll take a look at these and much more on tonight's PM magazine.
PM magazine.
Calm has returned to Northern Ireland this noon hour after 2 nights of rioting. That violence followed the deaths of 2 more Irish Republican Army hunger strikers at Maze Prison. On Saturday, the 71-day fast of Kevin Lynch came to an end with his death, setting off the first night of rioting. Then 42 hours later, IRA inmate Ciarán Doherty died after not eating for 73 days. At least 3 people were seriously injured in the violence sparked by Doherty's death. 2 British soldiers died early Sunday when a bomb hit their armored car. Water samples taken last Friday will be analyzed today for signs of radioactivity. The testing follows the leak of radioactive water from the Monticello nuclear power plant. Some 2,000 gallons of contaminated water spilled on Friday, and some of that water drained into the Mississippi River. Meanwhile, the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources will also be testing the river water. Spokesmen say they don't expect to find anything, but they just want to be certain. Last month, the body of 25-year-old Lori Hewitt Schmidt was found in the south side of Northfield. Today, her husband, 33-year-old Stephen, is to be charged with a shooting death. Ms. Schmidt's body had been in the railroad yard for several weeks before it was found, and positive identification was not made until last Friday. Robert Schilling is suffering from a few cuts and bruises this noon hour, but his injuries could have been much worse. The Cottage Grove pilot took his craft up for a third test run near Lake Elmo yesterday afternoon. The plane crashed into an apple orchard. The Federal Aviation Administration is investigating that accident. And we'll be back with the highlights of the day's news and Dan Carlson with the weather.
Ice grips the Great Lakes. Nothing moves. Ships carrying much-needed oil and iron ore are frozen in their tracks.
Cutter back at ours, Coast Guard 1357. We've got a nice register, 2 o'clock, over. Coast Guard 1357. Roger.
The Coast Guard's job, keep the shipping lanes open. The Coast Guard's icebreakers are on call 24 hours a day, so that our homes, cities, and industries will have fuel and supplies all winter. Icebreaking is just one of many Coast Guard jobs, like fighting pollution, enforcing maritime law, and perhaps most important, saving lives. They're big jobs, and we need all the help we can get. From young men and women who want to do something meaningful. The Coast Guard. See your recruiter.
Summarizing the day's news, White House News Secretary James Brady had a major seizure in his Washington hospital room today. Spokesman Larry Speaks says the seizure was treated with intravenous medication and anesthesia. Brady, you'll recall, was shot in the head during the assassination attempt on President Reagan last March. The White House says Brady's vital signs are normal now, and he is sleeping. The nation's air traffic controllers are on strike, and the White House is responding harshly to that work stoppage. President Reagan has impounded the union strike fund, and the government is going to court this afternoon to force those air controllers back to work. On another strike front, the state of Minnesota and AFSCME members go to the negotiating table tomorrow morning, and we're going to talk with Dan about some weather.
That's right. Let's see what's happening with all of that stormy weather in our area. It's a little ominous, Dan.
Well, it's moving off to the northeast, Bill. Some rather heavy thunderstorms moved through central Minnesota this morning. We're really not expecting anything major. A few scattered, isolated thunderstorms possible later on this afternoon. 40% chance here in the cities. Details of the forecast: variable cloudiness today with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. It's going to be a humid afternoon, though. Our high should be about 85 degrees. The overnight low, 68. Our winds will be from the southeast at 5 to 15 miles per hour, becoming light and variable tonight. We're anticipating variable cloudiness with a chance of thunderstorms in again tomorrow with a high near 84 degrees. We want to remind people not to work too hard with this hot, humid conditions. They should take the time to relax from hard physical labor, sip some cool drinks, and just take it easy.
For the folks out in the rural sector, are there any livestock advisories today?
I haven't seen any come across the wire, though I wouldn't discount the possibility maybe later this afternoon they may issue something.
Still not a bad idea to keep the livestock in a wide open area, keep them watered.
Indeed.
Okay, thank you. That wraps up this first edition of the Noon Report. We will be back tomorrow at 12 when we'll talk with Senator Dave Durenberger.
And remember not to work too hard this afternoon, and we hope that you'll join Pat, Doug, and Dave at 5, 6, and 10 today.
Isn't it wonderful to know that